Hello, good evening. So we're jumping into some anatomy today. So first, I'd like to start with the superficial muscles of the back that lie deep to other muscles, but these are the ones that cause a lot of agony. And so we'll come in a bit closer, okay? And so as you can see, it's actually three sets, but the way the picture is, it looks like two, because this thoracic area is like one, and then this one kind of starts here. So we have the longissimus, and it's basically helping to control things from the head to about C7 or so, around in there. And then we get into the thoracic area. So we have the iliocostalis cervicis, longissimus cervicis, and moving down, iliocostalis thoracis, longissimus thoracis, and then the iliocostalis lumborum. Now, it's not really shown here, but if you can see this kind of white area here, this is connective tissue. This is connective tissue. This is tendon, okay? And so this can get super tight, okay? And then picture, so there's this, but then picture there's like another large connective tissue on this area, which is connected to your latissimus dorsi. And so looking at the chart here, there's a few, the picture's not really showing the psoas, that's why they have this little picture here, but this actually can also mimic sciatic symptoms. As you can see here, the stippling and the red area is just an indication of like where a person would be feeling the pain. A lot of times people think that it's actually coming from these muscles here because that's where they're feeling it, but in reality, it's actually on the abdominal or the front side of the body, like how it's showing here. It's actually the front side. So I mean, it can even present as pain on the front leg here as well. There's other cases that are very in line with the whole sciatica symptoms. When the iliocostalis lumborum has trigger points, typically I do find them right at the bottom of the ribs, maybe a little bit even up. And yeah, it will send referral pain or, pain down into the hip. Also, a really interesting look is the deep paraspinal muscles. So these muscles, they can be tricky to get to because they are so deep. The other muscles that are lying on top of them tend to be super tight and rope-like. A lot of times I'll be working on a person's back, especially like the low back, like in this area here, and let me come over, like this area here, and like I'll be blipping over, and that's how I know like it's overly tightened, and we actually need to loosen, or maybe a better word would be to help relax, because we don't really want it to loosen because it is doing a job for the body. So the goal of massage and trigger point therapy is not to make muscles super loose and flaccid and not optimal. The idea is to locate the areas where there's going to be natural tension and to help relieve it. And so back to over here, the multifidi, you can look there, there are these little tiny muscles right along the spine that connect from the spinous processes over to parts of the ribs. And so a lot of times my clients super appreciate when I do the spinal work because this is what I'm really aiming for. Now, mind you, you have to remember there's skin, there's fascia, there's all these different layers. So to get down deep in here, it does require myofascial work, which is helping to loosen the fascial adhesions and restrictions that are present. How can you tell if you have fascial adhesions or restrictions in your fascia? It's going to feel tight, like, for example, if you try to stretch, like bending over or doing side stretches to the side, and it just feels super, super tight. A lot of times that can be a few things, but what I have found is that a lot of times it's the fascia, and then the muscles underneath have become weak because they're tight and holding on and not actually stretching. When you go to stretch, you're actually feeling the stretch of your fascia versus the stretch of your muscles. Okay. And then we'll come down here because there's another muscle that's really infamous for this as well, and it's the quadratus lumborum. It connects to the last rib. So I have to be really careful in this area because the last ribs are floating. So they're floating ribs. So being mindful, you know, of that. But if you can see here, it is actually covered by some of these superficial paraspinal muscles. Okay. And so this one actually lies deep to these. It's going to be more on the other side. Oops, sorry, more on the other side of this. Okay, they've just removed all those so that we can see, you know, it connects here and then it attaches into the top of the pelvis. And I would say this is one of the number one areas that when I relieve this, a lot of people's sciatic pain symptoms magically disappear. Okay. And then we're gonna look also because a lot of this is in the hips. Okay. If you've ever had bottom of the sacrum pain, a lot of times it's going to be coming from some very deep internal hip rotators, and typically these muscles we do not work on as a regular massage therapist. And when you're trained, though, there are certain areas, not up in here, because it's actually located up under the cheek in here. Okay. But there are, if loosening the hamstrings and all the connections right in here, it's almost like it does this domino effect, and it'll start to release up in there further. Another one is the glute maximus. So if there are trigger points in the glutes, this is typically where people are going to find be complaining or saying that they feel pain. And so I don't know, you tell me, does this look like what you would describe as sciatic symptoms or pain? Like, do you feel it in these areas where it's red? Because a lot of times, because even the piriformis, I can't forget about the piriformis, because that's the one, remember, that we were looking at the other day, that it attaches here at the sacrum and it connects over here to the top of the hip joint, and the sciatic nerve slides right underneath. So as you can see here, it has it illustrated here as well. And this trigger point can be tricky right in here. This one's usually easier to locate. This one's usually easier to locate. This one can be a little bit trickier, only because depending on the person, if they have their natural butt, for one, also if there's a lot of adipose in the area, then it can be a little bit challenging. In that case, there has to be a lot of warming and a lot of kind of deeper pressure with the elbow to actually get in and release that one, because I don't think we looked at the glutes. So we'll probably do, well, it's showing it here a little bit, but I'm gonna show a better picture of it so that you can understand. But because the glute, especially the glute maximus, it's a pretty big muscle. You know, it covers this whole area. and these muscles are underneath that. And so you have to kind of first get the trigger points from the glutes, the glute maximus, which it's funny because it can be very similar to trigger point 1 for the glute maximus. Now this one here can be very interesting. I typically don't have to go this far. I can usually find them here and here and get it to release. And you know, when people come in and they're having pain at the sacrum, a lot of times it's the side hip, the gluteus medius. But yeah, I just wanted to do some more anatomy. We're going to be taking a look here in more depth as to what is actually causing the pain or the agony or the discomfort that you're feeling. Although I am focusing on sciatic pain because I see it so much in my office, I will eventually show and kind of look at these other pains. I'm sure people have had Charlie horses, right? And plantar fasciitis. This is kind of explaining a little bit of where to find the trigger points for plantar fasciitis. Also some stuff for the hips. Okay, and then even up top, the upper parts of the body. But I will sign off here and I'll see you guys on the next one.